All right, everybody, welcome to our latest MX Vice SMX Review Show podcast as we talk all things Glendale from what was a fascinating weekend of action. Firstly, thank you everyone for listening and supporting the site. We really appreciate it. We'd also like to thank our sponsors in Fly Racing, Fox Racing, Parts Europe, Scott, Whole Shop Motorhomes, AS3 Performance, and of course, Even Strokes for all their incredible support. As without them, none of this would be possible. Right, for this episode, we have another Whiskey Throttle times MX Vice collab, as I'm joined again by the great man, Whiskey Throttle Editor at Large, Jeff Beaver. How's life, and thanks for joining us. Looked like a good one in Glendale, mate. You were there, all over it.
Yeah, it was an interesting weekend, man. That track was huge. I mean, big track. I like the Cardinal Stadium. State Farm Stadium's just badass. Huge, big old press box to watch the racing from if you want. I did safety hold photography again. Got some really good shots. I'm actually starting to know what I'm doing with the camera a little bit. So, you're out there with guys like Garth Milan and all that, and you're like, I suck. But, just kind of doing my thing, having fun and, running around with all the riders, and nothing like being on the safety hold watching the racing. I mean, there is no better view of the race than right there in those spots. You're 15 feet from the guys. It's pretty epic. It's amazing how much. I was talking to Michael Antonovich, and he was like, "Isn't it crazy how much different the race sounds when you're on the safety hold or on the floor compared to just being back in the stands in the front row?" And I go, "Yeah, it's gnarly, dude. You can feel it in your chest when they're revving. It's a trip." But so it was a great weekend.
Yeah, mate, it looked like a good one. It was certainly full of action, lots happening, and just obviously touch on the track, mate. By the end of the mains, it was pretty beat up. Obviously, gave the riders a good test. They obviously can stretch those bikes out a bit in those bigger floors. And so how was it, that big rhythm section? Obviously caught a lot of eyes. The whoops obviously were just rock hard. Quite tough to pass in a lot of ways with those rhythm sections having that little bit of a twist in them. So how was it from your perspective in terms of the breakdown, how the riders adapted? Certainly gave them a pretty good test and a nice challenge, didn't it, mate?
Yeah, I mean, those rhythm lanes, I think, were like 145 yards long. They were just insane. So it was like almost like Red Bull straight rhythm with a little kink in it. So it's no wonder that Roxon did so well, right? I mean, just the timing was crazy. And RJ was on our Riders Meeting podcast today. You guys should check that out. But he was talking about how he was like having to downshift to get through the rhythm lanes at one point to be able to slam into the face of one of the sections and then having to seat bounce over. And he goes, typically you don't downshift in a Supercross race in the middle of a rhythm lane. So they threw a pretty cool curveball at him. Dirtworks did a good job on the track. No more Dragons back, which I think is a positive. I mean, look what happened to Barsha, last year? I mean, he got weeded over the damn thing. And if you miss that top one, you're just having a horrible day. And so I'm glad to see those go. I mean, they were cool to look at when they were executed properly, but the juice wasn't worth the squeeze on them. They've gone to 9 whoops in the track, which my thought is, I haven't asked anybody at Feld, but my thought is to kind of get consistency, with all these teams and everybody building tracks. Hey, if we just set the standard that's going to be 9 whoops at this size, everybody can kind of go build a set of whoops like that and get good at executing those types of whoops. I think it'll bring the safety up, honestly. That's my thought on it. But that Glendale dirt, when you walk in it, it turns to concrete when it's dry, but when it's wet, it just sticks to your feet. I mean, when you walk across the track, you're 2 inches taller after you're done. And I learned in 2020, I did a track walk there. Don't walk up and down the jumps there. The guys have been doing that their whole life. They do it, but I could just see my fat ass being a highlight reel sliding down the face of a jump or eating it. And I'm just not trying to be that dude. So I just kind of cruise the outsides or walk the straights, but she was a big one. I liked how they had the split sand section. That was pretty cool. It was a good look. That double that crossed the end of the start straight, that got a couple people pretty good, dude. RJ Hampshire's lucky he was able to compete after time qualifying. He caught a felony case. He cased it so hard, man. He was looking at 25 to life on that one. I mean, he ate it hard. He said he hit so hard it shifted his jaw over, and he's like, man, I'm not 20 years old anymore. Those things hurt, you know. So that's kind of why he was running a little slower in the heat races and everything. But it obviously worked out for me. He had a great night. But that track was definitely a man's track. It was gnarly.
Yeah, he's a tough dude, isn't he, RJ? And it was a really good point you brought up about the rider safety in those different sections and how they're sort of modifying all the different bits. Obviously, the riders have some certain opinions on it. Some of them like it, some of them don't. Obviously, the ones that are great in the whoops obviously want that to be a real difference maker for them. But I suppose in the grand scheme of things, it's good overall to sort of be on the pulse with this, especially with last year fresh in the memory, having those decimated fields, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, the tracks are still tricky. They made those jumps really peaky, like back in the day. You know, you'd hear people complain, "Oh, these tracks aren't, you know, they're cookie cutter." Well, they made them peaky. Now they complain. You know, what's the old saying? Motocrossers, you know, they're not happy if there's no change, and they're happy if there's change, or however that goes. You know, they'll kind of, you know, have something to say about everything. But that's anything in life, right? But they made them pretty peaky, and down at the bottoms it was real soft. So you would have these peaky kind of hard faces and soft in the bottom. And so it made it pretty sketchy. And, you know, this is all stuff I'm regurgitating from listening to RJ, but, you know, it's pretty good insight on how that track rode, and the fact that they had to downshift it. You know, I didn't catch that watching them ride. You know, I'm sure some of the guys who have raced or ridden those kind of tracks could pick up on that stuff, but, you know, Joe Fan probably didn't catch that, right? You know, just, oh, look at that. That was cool. And, you know, that track bit Thrasher. I was sitting in the press box straight above that when he hit, and I seen him boing on. He hit his chest in the bars, and he got air off of that. I'm like, oh shit. And he's so lucky that they don't pack the in between the jumps and that it was soft, because if he would have landed on the face of that jump, he had a spinal injury or something. You know, he would have, you know, he ended up with bone bruising and a concussion. But could you imagine if he hit the racing surface that was hard? Because I actually cut through that little area during the track walk, and it was soft, like you'd sink a foot into it, you know, as you stepped across the side of the jump. So I'm sure the big dirt clods didn't feel great from 15 feet in the air, but he got as lucky as he could have got for the situation.
Yeah, there was a few nasty ones, wasn't there? Obviously, he's had such a bad run last year as well with injuries, and yeah, it's great to sort of see him get away relatively unscathed. Obviously, Ryder D had his issue. He looked like he's going to be all right, doesn't he, mate? And how cool was that TLD kit before we get stuck into the racing? That was pretty awesome, that little side sort of style with the golf connotation thrown in there with Fowler. So cool to see the sport, especially TLD. They're so good at breaking new ground and getting these cool collaborations going and thinking outside the box and being real vibrant with their designs, aren't they?
Yeah, they had that big golf tournament there in the valley the same weekend, and Ricky wore the jersey at the golf event, which was freaking rad, dude. You know, I mean, golf is so huge over here, and to see a player wearing a TLD motocross jersey, I was like, dude, that's freaking rad, dude. You know, they don't look like a bunch of dorks out there. You know, they kind of look like he was cool. So good on Ricky Fowler for doing that. I mean, that's awesome. Yeah, that's all I got for that.
Yeah, TLD is pretty cool. So yeah, just hopefully, obviously, from Barsha and those guys to get a bit of a pickup in the results. Obviously, things haven't quite gone their way so far, but we'll start with Roxon, mate. The skills were on show again, those sprint laps, and that great start gave him such a great platform for success. It was a real masterclass, and you can never doubt the great man, especially with those starts and when he gets out there with that space ahead of him. And he's really emerged as like a legitimate title contender now, even though some of the results haven't really matched his speed, but he's been electric all year, hasn't he, mate? Looking the goods. If he can find that consistency like we're starting to see, and he's so adaptable, he's experienced, he's raced everything, done it all before, and he's so happy on that team. Obviously worked through a lot of things with the team and the bike initially, and he's probably still doing that, but he's in a really good spot now, isn't he, mate? So lap times were really solid, and another winner on the year. So this Supercross 450 class just keeps giving, doesn't it?
Oh, it's insane. It's the tightest it's ever been. And Hey, if Roxon wouldn't have had some of those bad starts the first couple rounds, I think he'd be right there in the middle of the points chase. I think he would have already had a win by now. I think Anaheim too probably would have been good for him being the Triple Crowns and the sprinter, and him being the only guy who's ever gone 1-1-1 in a Triple Crown, and he did it at Glendale in 2020. But the guy is just phenomenal at starting and getting out there and getting going. It was a damn shame that AP went down, because when AP got his win, he hunted down Roxon and passed him, and AP was on fire. I mean, you should have been in the stadium when he got that heat race win. It was just awesome, you know. I mean, Cowboy was going for it, and I don't think we've seen the last win out of Aaron this season. I think he's like, no, I'm not just going to win in the mud. I'm going to get one. We're going to do this, you know. I'm not a mud guy, you know. He's going to get after it and win. He's got a couple heat race wins now. I mean, he's trending upward, and the crowd's behind him. And I think when you're trending upward like that, you're the head guy down at the Baker's factory, and you're trending upward, and you got the fans behind you. It all just boosts your confidence into another level. And you could just, I've never seen the guy have more fun, and the guy has more fun than anybody, right? You know, so that's, to me, that's probably one of the greatest things so far this season, is just AP's results this year, you know. And yeah, I went down, that sucked, but just watching him have a good time is a pleasure.
Yeah, it's really good, this title race, like you said, mate. Obviously, the top 7 there, separated by just 17 points. Jet Lawrence with the red plate now. It's really shaping up nicely, and Jason Anderson put in another good ride, and he's really putting his name up there. Really consistent, happy on the bike, like you've discussed in the past. And just, I guess it was a testament to Ken's riding and staying power, because sometimes he was getting those starts and fading back. But Jason Anderson was trying to chase him down on a couple of occasions, trying to put the heat on him, but Ken just kept responding. So real testament there. Great sort of speed and skill, and just the way they managed the races. And obviously Anderson knew that he probably wasn't going to get Kenny, and the track was getting pretty rugged. So another really solid showing. You hardly saw him on the broadcast, but what was your take on Jason Anderson's weekend? Another solid one. Keep banking those points, and he's really looming large again, isn't he?
Yeah, he's just ripping. And, you know, we've got a lot of racing left. Where we got 11 rounds or something left, 11, 12 rounds. It's insane. Anything could happen. I mean, we could weed out a couple of these guys, and Ando and Roxon could be right there in the title. And don't forget about Webb. You know, Tomac had a pretty decent night, you know, and both him and Tomac historically pick it up now. I can't wait to see Tomac get to Daytona. What would that be, number 9 if he wins it? I think number 9, or yeah, I think he's got 8. Yeah, I don't know. Don't quote me on that, but yeah, I would love to see him just win that one and go, yeah, I'm done. I've got it. I gotta go. I'm gonna go hunting, you know, and see you guys in 25 years when we do a reunion tour or something. But
Do you think we see him outdoors? Probably not.
I don't know. I mean, he loves the outdoors, but I don't know. If he has a good back half of the season, I could see him probably going for it, you know, challenging Jet. Jet made a little comment in the press conference that kind of raised an eyebrow, you know, about Tomac, you know, kind of not being what he once was. And, you know, Tomac, his right eyebrow raised up, and he goes, "Look, you little son of a bitch." Okay, boy. Yeah, daddy still got some. So, you know, and that's probably a lot of good showmanship on Jet, but, you know, be careful what you ask for. You just may get it, right? And it was interesting, you know, at Detroit, he didn't get any booze. Jetson didn't get any real booze or anything, but at Glendale, it wasn't as bad as Anaheim. But yeah, they booed him when he came out, you know, and so, and you know, and he's taking little jabs at these guys. So I don't know if he's relishing that role and kind of stirring the pot a little bit, and, you know, kicking the bull in the nuts, you know, but I don't think he's stupid. He knows what he's doing. You know, he is a kid, but, you know, I think there's a lot of gamesmanship in him, and he's probably just stirring the pot and trying to get in these guys' heads, right? You
Yeah,
know,
he's an
so
interesting character.
Mike Tyson was really good at that. He'd go in there and he had you beat before you even you even got into the ring with him. And I think Jetson has a little bit of that in him, that he's smart enough to get in their head and start messing with them, and just little shots like that. And then going out and having a crappy weekend and still ending up on the podium. And, the kid's legit, so, and I think the booing will go away, especially if he wins the title this year. Everybody will get amnesia, and he's going to be the greatest thing since sliced bread again. And, everybody will be in love with him. And, so the fans in this sport are pretty funny like that.
Yeah, well said, mate. Obviously, Jet, really impressive ride. And like you were saying, he doesn't mind sort of saying those little funny, sort of interesting bites just to, I don't know if he just does it because it's just the immaturity. He's just a kid because, obviously he's pretty laughable and loves a joke and loves just being funny and just doing silly things off the track. Once that helmet goes on, mate, it's all action, isn't it? And that'll probably bode pretty well if he's getting into those mind games with someone like Cooper Webb, who's sort of traditionally a master on it. So sort of make for some pretty cool little interesting subplots moving forward too, because those guys are right up there and had a nice little battle on the weekend too. But yeah, Jet sort of obviously can't come through the pack like you do in the 250 class, but still deserves massive respect for chopping up through there, getting up to third on the podium. And he just navigates racetracks and situations so well, even though he had a couple of pretty nasty moments. And he had a nice battle with his brother too, who had an excellent race, his best yet. Really gained some confidence with that as well, Hunter, and on a pretty slippery, tough track that was pretty hard to sort of get through in a lot of ways. So best round yet for him. Jet Lawrence has got the red plate. I guess good confidence boosters for these guys heading into the break, and it's certainly interesting to see how the fans will receive them moving forward.
Yeah, I don't think it's any sweat off his back. I think he's just going to roll with it and do his thing. He'll be just fine. And when he takes that wad of $100 bills and wipes his tears away, I'm sure it makes it all better. He's not going to go home and fawn over getting a few boos. I don't think he really cares. He knows what's up. So, Ping had one good insight on the weekend. Jet made a pass on, I think it was Webb, and he held him up in the corner real tight. He went by Hunter, and then when he went into that corner, he kind of held Hunter up just enough to where, held Webb up just enough to where Hunter dipped into that corner, like kind of team tacticking. And I Ping caught that and was talking about that. I go, yeah, that was pretty cool that he did that, and hey, if my brother was out there, you damn right I'd park your ass in the cheap seats. I wouldn't just hold you up in the berm. You'd be in the safety hold upside down going, help. Screw you. That's my brother, dude. So there's some fun stuff going on in the 450 class. It's definitely good. But yeah, good on Roxon getting another win. Good for Suzuki. He's single-handedly saving that brand. It kind of makes you wonder what's going to happen when he decides to hang it up. Does Suzuki come out with a new bike and come back into the racing, or do they pull out and do like they did in all other forms of racing, and they're going to go make mopeds and stuff? I don't know. It's a trip, but he's single-handedly saving Suzuki in America right now. Period.
Yeah, he's doing the goods, isn't he, mate? And just a quick word on Hunter Lawrence's kit. Was there much sort of chat about that? Obviously, the Daniel Ricciardo collaboration with that, another Aussie there. So your thoughts on that, mate? And just how impressed were you with his riding? Because he's really able to stick it up there with those guys this weekend. Hasn't, he's been solid, but probably after Paris Supercross and, the expectations and just how good he is, he probably expected to be around where he is now, but it's not easy, that 450 class. And he's mentioned it's just a lot of bike too, isn't it? And there's so much to sort of get used to. And there's no getting around how stacked that class is either, is it, mate? So I guess less mistakes as well for him this weekend. So the confidence will be higher now, but just your takeaways from Hunter specifically as well.
Well, Hunter's a little older, a little wiser, and a little less controversial than Jet, right? And I think he's just happy getting better every weekend. So he got fifth? That's solid as hell, so he's trending upwards. He's going in the right direction. And I think his thoughts are is just learn this season and get healthy, stay healthy, go into outdoors, do his thing, and come into 25 Supercross as a win contender at least. The guy knows how to ride a bike, and I've seen him at the Honda test track preseason, and he was getting it. He knows what he's doing out there on that thing, and he was pretty impressive. So I think he's just taking a calculated, methodical approach to it. That he strikes me as that guy. He's very intelligent, and I think he's just gonna kill people with his results, not his mouth, right? He's gonna do what Hunter does.
Yeah, well said. And obviously next on the list as we work down, obviously Ferrandis, another really consistent and solid day at the office for him. Super impressive what he's doing, isn't it, mate? He sort of found his groove, found the rhythm there. He's really refreshed and recalibrated mentally, and he's just so happy in that program. He was having some great battles throughout the race too, wasn't it, mate? He wasn't lying down for anyone. And I guess the next logical step for him would be to get on the podium. And yeah, Cooper Webb, just to touch on him again, obviously not ideal. He'll be looking for a massive bounce back. And like JT was saying on the broadcast, he has that huge sort of struggle in Glendale usually. So that certainly bore itself out again here. But yeah, watch out. Like you said, mate, next round he'll be coming out swinging. He doesn't like sort of festering on that for 2 weeks. He'll have a lot of thinking and a lot of time to sort of give it all he has at the next round, won't he?
Yeah, I mean, his average win at Glendale is 7th, and he finished 7th. I think that's just one of those rounds where if he survives and doesn't leave in a meat wagon or lose a bunch of points, I think he's probably pretty happy. But we're coming into the Cooper Webb, Eli Tomac stretch of the series where those guys light up and get going. Ferrandis has been riding really, really well. I would love to see him find that other little notch that he needs to hook on his belt to get on the podium or get a win, because he knows how to do it. You know, we know he's a Supercross regional champion, national champion. He's obviously got the tools and the kit. He's got a great bike. He's got Honda parts. He's got Ziggy doing the suspension, and I would love to see them get a win just for factory connection. You know, that would be pretty epic for those guys, you know, to after Geico dissolving and then them deciding to come back. If they could get on the podium or the top step their first season back, that'd be pretty rad. I think that would bode very well, and it'd probably keep Ferrandis back around for a while longer too.
Yeah, he's certainly probably exceeding expectations for what a lot of people would have had in mind. But yeah, it's just amazing what sort of confidence and happiness can do for a rider. And moving down the list, mate, would love obviously to hear your thoughts on Chase Sexton. Obviously had that injury during the week, and it was pretty cool that he was honest about that, because a lot of guys just suffer in silence and sort of don't like to, you know, let anyone know about it, and just sort of maybe it's like a sign of weakness and they just want to tough it out. But yeah, he did as well as he could in the situation and to still bank some points. Still right in that title hunt as well. It was cool to see Mookie in there getting 8, getting the top 10. You know, the riding's always good with Mookie. A lot of the time he's so fast, and just good to see him sort of get some decent results. And even Christian Craig there in 12th, not obviously where he wants to be, but he obviously just wants to get some momentum and get some more work done and just sort of feel like he can battle it up there in the top 10, because that's where they all are. There's so many elite riders in there. And it's not easy getting the top 10 in that class, is it, mate? And AP as well, not the ideal weekend, but it could have been so much more for him too. So we'll just love your thoughts on those guys too, mate.
Yeah, you know, so Sexton, I guess he did something to his arm. He's got a contusion or something. Don't know exactly what it was, but apparently last week at the beginning of the week, he hopped on the track, couldn't even do a lap. He hit a double and his arm blew off, and everybody's like, dude, this dude ain't riding. So Chase Sexton is gnarly. And he, you know, Ricky always says championships are won on your bad days, you know. So did he do what he needed to do to average out the rest of the rounds and save enough points? But the dude's a stud. He's got a good head on his shoulders. He's got a great team. You know, there's other media outlets saying, oh, did he make a mistake going to the KTM? No, I don't think he did. I think he's right where he wants to be. But I mean, when you weed your arm and on Monday you can't hold onto the bike to hit a double on a Supercross track, and you're out there Saturday racing against the best in the world, you're a gnarly dude. And he wouldn't be out on that if that bike was a piece of shit, you know? So I'm not worried about him. I think he'll bounce back. The week off is really, really good for him. It was nice not seeing Mookie laying in the dirt playing geologist out there. He did really, really well in his heat race, and he got a top 10. Build off it, Mookie. You know, Nate's probably eating, antacids by the bucket full for the 450 class, and then thank God RJ's in there doing his thing right now. But yeah, it's been a rough go for Mookie and Christian, you know. And honestly, I don't know if Christian will be back next year. When you see him, he just does not look stoked, right? It just kind of like he's like, I just want to get through this and, you know, go do a podcast or something. That's just the vibe I get. I haven't talked to anybody, but when you just see somebody, when you see their energy, I think he's already broke his spine and gone through all that. And I think you get to a point where your life in anything, when you had a bad injury, I've had a bad spinal injury, and I was stupid enough to go back and put 20 years into my career doing it. And I'm at the point in my life now where I'm like, I got better shit to do. It's just, I've already climbed that hill and done well. And, do I really want to do this no more? And that's just the vibe I get, so, I may be a complete jackass and not know what I'm talking about. And he comes out and cleans everybody's clock at the end of the season and, it comes back next year. And then, I'll eat my words, but I don't know. That's just kind of a educated guess on my part, but yeah, seeing Mookie do well, I want to see him get back up and mix it up, and hopefully he doesn't get anywhere near Jason Anderson. Those two need to stay apart. They're like a magnet. But anyway, yeah, the 450 class was really, 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 really good again this weekend. It's kind of nice going into the break and coming into round 7, not having any idea who's going to take a hold of this championship. Because back in the day, either Ricky Reed or James would have already been running away with it, and it was boring at that point. Then you were watching the regional rounds, right? So it's definitely good for everybody. It's good for the fans. It's good for the riders. It's good for Feld. It's good for the sponsors. It's just building a huge buzz. And now I honestly hope it goes down to Salt Lake City. You imagine going into Salt Lake City and, yeah, just imagine going into Salt Lake not knowing who is the clear title contender. Like everybody's got a couple of race wins. Nobody's got 8 or 10 wins on the season. Everybody's got 2 or 3. You imagine that? Just like, holy shit, who's going to pull this off tonight? It's kind of like that Super Bowl game last night. I came up on the shit end of the stick on that one, being a Niners fan, but it wasn't the highest scoring game, but it came out just right down to the end, and Mahomes did his thing. Does Jet come in there and do his thing? Does Chase do his thing? Does Tomac pull it out? Does Kenny squeak one out? Does AP get love from the moto? I mean, it's just kind of feels like that game last night. Just you have no idea who's going to take control and go for it until it's just over, until the clock runs out, and that's what I really, really hope for.
Yeah, absolutely agree with what you're saying there, mate. And I guess as you move forward through the season, a lot of guys that are absolutely elite haven't had the season they want so far. And there'll be spoilers come the end of the season and the second half of the season. Guys like Justin Cooper, who's shown some really great flashes, and Mookie, and obviously Christian Craig, Vince Freeze getting 13th, McElrath 14th, Wilson 16th, Bloss, and obviously Barsha down in 18th. All these guys are just elite riders. They could throw it in there for sure. And even Justin Hill, there's just a lot of riders in there that can get in those top 5 positions, and they've shown in the past, and just to put another spanner in the works. So it's just going to be such a good season, mate. I can't see the storylines, drying up anytime soon, mate, because it's just everywhere you look, there's something to talk about, isn't there?
Yeah. It just, I'm not even going to pretend to know what's going to happen or what curveball is going to come our way. The only thing I can say is I pray to God everybody stays healthy this year. Then imagine what the outdoor nationals would be like with everybody healthy. If everybody can come in and take that little break in between the last round in Salt Lake and Paula, it would be a great 2024. Could probably go down as the greatest season in history, really. 22 was really, really, really good with Chase and Eli, but imagine if everybody was in there just scrapping, it'd be gnarly, dude. Look like a bunch of Muppets out there just mopping each other up on the track. It'd be great.
And maybe even obviously next year get Prado to throw it in there outdoors. That'll be something to see as well.
Oh yeah. Let's get him and Hurlings over here. Just really screw everything up. Just let's have a knockdown drag out in the outdoors. That'd be sick. But anyway, we're kind of skewing off. We probably should get into the 250s.
Yeah, mate, there's certainly a lot to look forward to and a lot that we can still discuss from the 250s for sure, and Glendale as a whole. Obviously, RJ, awesome effort. Coming from that painful case back earlier in the day, like you said, mate, really banged up. But he certainly put that flex on in that 250 main event, mate. Managed the track and the scenarios in front of him so well. And obviously, where do we see him going from here? Obviously, 450 testing, he mentioned. It'd be awesome to see him obviously race, but maybe that's a little bit unlikely with the championship on the line here. You'd hate to see him go out of that race in the 450s, but he's already shown that he wants to do that 450. He's capable of doing it, and he's priming himself for the future. So he even mentioned that he'd like to obviously, do some testing on it during the break and even help his teammates, which is a pretty cool thing to see as well.
Yeah, he said that today on our show that he's really good at setting up a bike. So he's gonna go give a whack at that 450 and see if there's something that the guys aren't seeing or feeling, and see if he can help them out, do that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's a miracle he won that race because he caught a felony case over that big finish line gap jump at the end of the start straight. It was, or not finish line, but the start straight gap. I mean, that thing was only like 4 or 5 foot tall, and it hucked, it was huge. It was 75, 80 feet over a real short jump. And I guess he caught a tough block or something, and he goes, man, I've caught some cases, but that one was just shifted his jaw over, just everything hurt, and lucky he didn't get hurt real bad. And then after you went over that jump, you took a right, went back across, and then there was a left-hand turn, and you had that little kind of step on, kind of double over, and then land and take the left into the first rhythm lane. And I caught Nicoletti, just barely clipped a tough block there and went down. He got lucky though when he got spit off, it rolled him right over the top of the last jump. So he just kind of, if he would have been a foot lower, he would have hurt. But he just kind of slid right over the top like he was sliding into home. But that's been kind of an issue lately, is the tough blocks. I don't know if they need to really think about putting less of them out there. And, on the TV broadcast, they can do those virtual, like on the face of the finish line jump, they can make it all virtual. Maybe it's time to kind of go to that for the television broadcast and kind of limit how many of those, tough blocks are out there on the jumps, and where they put them, and maybe have them farther off the track a little bit. I don't know, but when they can get caught in the racing lane or the track marker guy, I can't tell you how many times I've seen the track guy not go put it back, and then one of the ones who's experienced runs over there and kind of puts it over, but they're in such a hurry and they want to get out of the way. It's kicking over 3 or 4 inches into the track, and that 3 or 4 inches can be the difference between grabbing a foot peg and not grabbing a foot peg. So I think they need to really, it's been an issue for a long time, but I think it's kind of getting to the point where they need to really think about doing something else, or make them out of cardboard or something that if it catches, it's not going to take the bike down,
WSX
I don't
style.
know. Yeah. Something. I mean, yeah, they've saved a few people's asses when they've flown through the air and happened to land on one. I mean, it probably doesn't feel great, but a lot better than hitting the dirt. I'm sure Nate would have wished he would have had a tough block there that he landed on, the way he landed. He probably got back up and rode, but I think they're weeding people more than they're helping right now.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting topic. Obviously, Paris Supercross do their own, World Supercross do their own, all different series across the world. So, it's one of those sort of ongoing topics. We'll see. Obviously, I'm sure they're putting time and investing money into the best solutions. But yeah, it's just such a tough one because sometimes they come in handy. Sometimes they hinder situations, like you were saying. You definitely don't want one like, lying in the whoops or something, do you, mate? Because it's hard enough to get through those things, let alone without a tough block line in front of that you got to try and negotiate. So, but yeah, the 250 class is just made for some great racing. Obviously, both coasts, and Smith, Hampshire, and Kitchen. It's really shaping up as a great battle, isn't it, mate? And I guess who do you give the edge to at this point? Obviously, the other two are experienced, but Kitchen's kind of been the more consistent guy, and he's got, he's a bit older than a lot of younger riders in his situation. He's a bit of a late bloomer, but it's really good to see him out there, and they're just keeping it on, and it's pretty hard to see how it's going. I guess, would you give the edge to Kitchen at this point, or are you just giving it to RJ just on the experience, the platform he's on? He knows everything. He's worked so hard to get to that base that he's at now, and he's a fighter, isn't he, mate? He's never lying down. He's always up for it, so aggressive, the intensity, which, probably needs to dial it back every now and then, but he's maturing really well, and he's a very complete rider, so I guess he's probably the man for you as well.
RJ is the fastest, I think, and then Jordan's right there with him. But him and Jordan are not the most consistent guys. Historically, they've gotten a lot better. Levi has got flashes of blinding speed, but I think he's pretty smart. Like, these guys are out there killing themselves. I'm just going to go at 95%, and he's got the red plate going out, and that was his goal. He said it. I got the red plate going out. It was funny as hell, though, man. He must have a small bladder, though, because 4 times during the race, he must have thought I was a Feld guy or something, because he kept asking me, before his rides, hey, where's the bathroom? I'm like, shit, I don't know, back there's an outhouse, and he just sprint off. He either drinks a hell of a lot of water and he's hydrated to hell, or he's got the world's smallest bladder. But that guy did more pissing than he did at racing at Glendale. I swear to God, dude, it was funny as shit. I'm gonna give him some hell about that next time I see him. Dude, what was your deal at Glendale, dude? Every time I saw you, you're like, man, where's the bathroom? And like, do I look like the toilet attendant? Do I look like one of those guys who sits there and hands you paper towels and a breath mint? You know, what the what do I look like, bud? But maybe I do look like it, and I got to rethink my program. I don't know, but yeah, that was just a funny little side note. And then yeah, so those three guys. The rest of the field, I don't know. I mean, I was standing right there when DiFrancesco ran off. He got weeded pretty hard. That did not tickle. Felt bad for him on that one. I hope he's okay. And then,
Obviously, Joe
kind of going
Shimoda,
on
mate, give us a few words on Joe on the podium. Really good for him. He's obviously got the speed, the skill. Obviously, he would have liked to have shown that earlier in the season, but just the starts have been so average for him this year. And he needs to sort of get them really dialed to sort of get himself anywhere near those front guys, because you can't just rely on getting through the field all the time. There's so much carnage in those classes. You're just opening yourself up to get caught in a dramatic situation. But I suppose, yeah, it's better than, what he's been through. But yeah, good to get on the podium. Hopefully he can start racking some off, because he should be up there winning, and he was probably my title favourite heading in. So hopefully we see an uptick from him moving forward now, because he's got it all, doesn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he's awesome. It's just that something didn't click like they thought it was going to click, and they're not where they obviously wanted to be. I don't know if pressure gets to the guy. He's very quiet, and but when he gets on the track, it's like a switch goes off and he changes into a pretty aggressive dude on the track. But if you meet him, he's very quiet and polite. Maybe he needs to just get a little more aggressive and come out of his shell a little more. I don't know, but he's around a very, very intelligent group of people. Lars is gonna dissect what he's doing and get him dialed, and he's obviously got on the podium this weekend, so they're heading in the right direction. And I guarantee you they're gonna test their ass off, in this break. They got a long, good break, so it'd be interesting to see if we see a different Shimoda come out.
Absolutely. And as we rack down the 250 class, mate, we've obviously got a couple more before we let you go. But obviously, Marchbank's exceptional ride carving it up through the field there, mate. He's really shown that he's right in that mix, and he can match them for speed, hasn't he, mate? And the platform that Club MX guys have been working on for years, it's really all that hard work's paying off. Obviously, Nicoletti getting 8. He would have probably liked a better night too. But yeah, he's shown that he's got the speed. Obviously, Oldenburg 6, Juju 7. Wageman 9th. Really great effort from him. Always cool to see him doing well. And Hunter Yoda 10th. Mumford had some really great speed throughout the night, didn't he? He was back in 11th, and the Frenchman Bourdon in 12th. So some pretty cool riders doing their thing there, mate. And what was your sort of pick of that bunch?
Well, the Smart Top guys in the heat race, I think, were second and third. They were killing it. That was pretty cool. I'd like to see Mumford do good, and Oldenburg, they're kind of the blue collar badasses out there, that have got really, really good bikes and team, and, Tony knows what he's doing. So it's nice to see those guys getting some heat race success. And, I think they should be top 10 guys. They need to keep working towards that. And I think they're progressing well. I tried to talk to Bourdon, but his Frenglish and my French, they're just not lining up, bud. We kind of did some hand gesture signals, and I was like, yeah, we're going to have to hold off on this conversation for a while. He needs to learn a little more English, because I'm not learning French. So he was pretty impressive, but yeah, what a rad story for that cat. LeBig shared a bunch of photos that they put into the TV broadcast, which was kind of cool. So he got some love from the TV broadcast. Lee Diffie did a little thing, and LeBig gave him some photos from back in Europe to kind of show the people who this guy is, because everybody's like, the lay fan, was like, who the hell's this number 100 guy? I've never heard of him. So they gave him a little backstory, which was pretty awesome. With 60 and Billy in the LCQ, know. So yeah, I'll fill you in on what happened there. So the heat comes up and no Billy. And so I'm texting Billy. I'm like, dude, are you good? Where the hell you at? We're racing. Hello, Well, apparently he'd come down to the line, and he had something. There's like a safety thing they all have to have in their helmet or whatever, and he didn't have it with him. So he just turned around and ripped back up out of the tunnel and back up the ramp to go get it and come back down. When he came back down, the AMA's all, nah, man, once you've come to the line, when you turn around, if you leave, you don't come back down. That's it. So he didn't get to race the heat race. So he came into the LCQ and he was running on the bubble in the LCQ, and they red flagged the race. I forget that kid's name, but he wrecked it just as you come back out of the turn past the finish line, right in the little dog leg right there. He ate it pretty hard. A couple guys ate it right there. And that's the same spot that DeFrancesco went down. But Billy got in there and they red flagged it. I'm like, son of a bitch, man. He's so close. God damn it, Well, then they restart it and he comes out in third, and then he put a good pass on that dude for second, and he was going for it. And I think if he would have had a couple more laps, if it was a longer race and he had some fitness in him, he said he's ridden his bike 8 times since Anaheim 1, including the racing he's done. So I think he would have got that kid and got the LCQ win, but he was going for it. Man, I was just, I'm not supposed to be cheering for anyone right around the side of the track, but I don't give a shit. Yell at me all you want, man. I was, yeah, go Billy, just screaming, sorry, bro. I'm going to make an exception for myself on that one. I just, anytime that guy does good. So, his birthday's, the 26th of this month, I think, and he's going to be 41. So, hopefully after that he can get another main and really just kick that record up even higher, So, he was super, super stoked, but it was gnarly, dude. He finished the LCQ. I go over and talk to him, and John goes, "Get off the bike, dude." And he rips up, fills it up with gas, and Billy turns and I chase him down the back of behind the start, and he goes back out, goes out to the line, dude. And man, when he came off the main, he was just sitting there and went up and kind of gave him a high five and the bro hug, and he goes, "I'm tired." And John's like, "Yeah, dude, we're done talking. He's got to go." Yeah. Funny story. He told me this. He had to get John, his mechanic, Black John. He had to get him a Uber back to the hotel. Well, they couldn't get an Uber to come into the stadium because of the way they block off all the traffic. So they had to walk like a mile away after Billy did all this racing. And Billy goes, "Man, I had to get off my feet." So he's like, "I was just laying on the street out there," and people are coming by, "Man, are you okay?" And I'm like, "Oh, that's hilarious, man. People probably throwing change at you thinking you're a homeless dude." You're like, "You idiot. I just ran the main in State Farm Stadium. I don't want your damn money, But, he said it was an interesting end of the night. But the poor guy, man, he's just sliding into home plate, pretty beat up right now. So the break is going to be very, very good for him. I don't know, we may see him go race some 450s back east during the break just so he can get some more gate drops. He's pretty nuts, dude. I think Billy's got some mental issues in there that we need to talk about. He's got some serious issues that we got to work out. But if I were him, I would stay in Southern California and hit the test tracks and do a lot of stretching and yoga and Pilates or whatever I could to kind of get my mobility back and get my fitness up. But hey, nothing like a gate drop. So yeah, watching Billy get in the main again, that was just super sweet, because so many people are like, he won't even make a main, blah, blah, blah. And I think you can see his riding's just getting better and faster. And I think if he has a good break, gets his fitness up and comes back, I wouldn't be surprised if you see him get in the 10 to 15 range out there, if he got a top 10, I'd lose my mind, And I totally think he's capable of it. I mean, he's got bike skills that a lot of these new kids don't have that translate over from riding a 125 back in the day, So he's looking at the track different and doing things, and he's got little tricks up his sleeve. The old man's got some game that these new kids never learn these techniques, It's just pin it to win it. And I think when he gets his fitness up and, he's obviously got all the rust off now, he hit the ground so hard it all fell off. So, I think Billy is still going to surprise some people as this season goes on. I think there's a couple, 3, 4 more races, but I think he'll be good.
Yeah, it's been impressive seeing what he's been able to do. And I guess the moral of the story for him will be avoid those LCQs at all costs, especially with that quick turnaround, mate. So that was a great story about him, and we certainly wish him all the best and look forward to seeing him back out there, whether that be 250 or 450. And obviously a quick shout out to Paul Pierce. He got a really cool interview with Aussie privateer Joel Whiteman in Glendale. So everyone, I'd encourage you to check that out. Doing his own program, doing the first few rounds of Supercross, been making night shows. Just really cool to see people chancing their arm and just doing what they love, isn't it, mate? And succeeding. And he'll be back for some rounds later in the season. So all the fans check that one out. And just cool to see these guys. Everyone's got these amazing stories in motocross and how they get there. It's all the different ways and beyond the factory riders. It's a lot of work, mate. So massive respect to all those privateers out there. So pretty cool stuff, mate. So before we let you go, mate, what's on the card for the rest of the week? Obviously, you and the team at Whiskey Throttle are doing great work. Those podcasts, the video content, it's all happening, mate. So just fill us in what's happening, and both for you and the team.
I'm sitting in the parking lot of a refinery in Salt Lake City going, gonna go smash my head against the wall and watch some remedial training I got to go do. But just stepping out, no racing for me until I'll be back for Seattle. And then I dip back out for another round. And then like I said, I think I've said this before, I'm hoping to hit Nashville on to finish out. Doing a bunch of bike testing. We got some two-stroke stuff we're going to be working on the new YZ250. That's coming out. Bruce has got some NGPCs coming up to race. We're riding the Honda now in the NGPCs and kind of working with the SLR Honda team doing that. And I'm trying to egg Bruce on into we were talking about last night about racing one of the outdoor nationals and calling out some of the other media dorks that fellow media dorks. I'll say that. I'm not calling them dorks. We're all dorks. We're media dorks, but maybe calling out a couple of the other guys who can twist the throttle, like Moseman and them, and maybe see if we can have a race within the race at Paula. I think that'd be pretty cool. The media dork national or something is what we could call it. And the winner gets a golden microphone or something. But so we're just trying to come up with fun shit to do, good content. Ping's doing his thing, and just we're really excited about the Sight Lap and Riders meeting, being a pod now. We're doing it on YouTube, and Brown Dog gave us rights to use his photos, so we just have a bitchin' slideshow of all the bunch of rad photos from the event.
He takes
playing in the background. Yeah, he takes great photos and kind of took a cue from you guys, on the YouTube, having the audio pod with a photo in the back. I was like, hey, that's a great idea. Let's do that. So, give credit where credit's due. We kind of stole the idea from you guys, but haha. Yeah, just having a blast, man. Having the riders on for Sight Lap and Riders meetings. Pierce Brown will be on Monday for Sight Lap. And even though we're going on the break, but there'll be a couple week gap. But all the riders seem to be really stoked on hopping on with us. It's a new outlet for them. A lot of the other guys have been around a long time doing the same thing, and it's kind of the same old routine. We're a little bit different, and we've got some real positive feedback from like Dan Hubbard and Davey came up to me this weekend and was giving us some good feedback. So it feels really good because we've been working really, really hard, just like you guys are busting your ass. We're just trying to do our thing and make a difference and give fans kind of an inside view of what goes on out there, not just race results and, what were you thinking when you come into that step on triple over? What gear were you in? I don't give a shit, shut up, you freaking nerd. But, they're all dudes like we are, the motocross is the most accessible sport there is, right? As far as the riders, and they're all cool. And if you're real with them, they get it. And they like to talk, I like to talk. So we just sit there and bullshit, and it's an absolute blast, so we're just going to keep doing more of that and hope everybody likes it and likes hearing and listen to me babble on and Bruce babble on and Ping babble on and so on and so forth. And as long as people like it and people want to sponsor us, we'll keep doing it.
Yeah, well said, mate. We're loving these podcasts, and the list of numbers have been excellent too, mate. So, but we'll just, for the fans and anyone that wants to know, we'll keep these podcasts going, even if you're not at the races every week. You still get all the insight from the guys. Yep. You still speak to riders, speak to Ping, speak to Bruce. So we'll keep them going, mate. And definitely thank you again for the time, and thank you for the sponsors for this one in Fly Racing, Fox, Parts Europe, Scott, Whole Shop Motorhomes, AS3 Performance, and of course Even Strokes for all their incredible support. As without them, there is no us. All right, thanks again, Jeff. Been a ripper chat, mate. All the best, and we look forward to catching up soon.
Hey, man, thanks for having me on, man. It's been a pleasure. I love doing these. Like, I never thought I'd get an opportunity to do this kind of stuff, and it's rad, and I'll keep doing it as long as I got air in my lungs, man.
No worries, mate. Look forward to the next one, and all the best.
All right, you too, bud.